Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Country Cousins show. I'm your host, Paul Ehall, and I'm lucky to have my good friend here with me today. He took time out of his busy schedule. My good friend Ron Vance, he's sitting in as co-host today. And if you've never heard of Ron's story or you don't know anything about him, he's a procurator of Unsung Heroes. And I got to talk to him today before we come on the show in the green room. And he told me a little bit about, he's got a couple other projects going on for the community there in Fresno. So it'll be interesting to talk to him and see what's going on, because I know with him, he's, you know, always busy, and he's the type of guy, he never likes to sit still. He's always got something cooking, so we'll have to find out what's going on. Ron, how you been?
Good.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for having me on Country Cousins
problem.
be your guest host. I'll tell you a little bit about Unsung Heroes.
Okay.
Unsung Heroes is founding, directed by Lisa Daniels out of Sacramento, California. Okay, she interviewed me at the Boys and Girls Club in West Fresno. You know, she saw I had my Vietnam veteran cap on, and she says, can I interview you? And I'm like, I have nothing to say. 20 minutes went by, okay, and I hear her laughing, like, what are you laughing at? She said, I thought you had nothing to say. Anyway, here we are, like, you know, 7, 8 years later, and I'm liaison here in Fresno, and I get those stories from veterans that come out of West Fresno. And to hear some of those stories, they're very interesting. I have a collection of pictures over at the Max Park Community Center. I have over 120 photographs over there. And one young lady came in one day, and she says, hey, that's my grandpa up there. And I asked her, do you know anything about your grandpa? He's my grandpa. You know, and I put on the pictures, I put a little caption in there, right? And I tell you what, Irwin Foster, you know, U.S. Army Air Corps, you know, Louisiana. And I said, now, do you know anything about your grandpa? Yeah, he's my grandpa. Again, she said that, right? And I told her, I says, hey, you know your grandpa is part of history. She was like, how's that? He was in the Army before there was an Air Force.
Yeah. Back in the early days of World War II, that's the same way with my dad.
Yeah.
He was at the Army.
Yeah.
It's called the U.S. Army Air Corps.
Army Air Corps.
And a lot of people don't know that.
They don't know that. She didn't know that, and she was like really shocked. I said, how'd you find out that information? I'm like, oh, I know more about your family than you do, okay? But anyway, that's what I do. I, you know, go to block parties, and I have my little display up, you know, Unsung Heroes, you know, with block veterans that come out of West Fresno. And you know what? I'm always getting those stories from other people who know about their aunts and uncles and cousins and stuff. I'm one of those people, and I didn't realize that. You know, one day somebody asked me, so what did you do in the Army? I said, I was in Iraq. You know, I had served, you know, 8 years in the Army. And what'd you do in the Navy? Well, I was a cook in the Navy, but I lived in Vietnam. You know, there's a great different contrast between 19 and age 50.
Exactly.
Okay.
There's a big gap.
Big gap in there, okay? And, you know, when I had to go to Iraq, we went to Texas for training, okay? Now, I'm 50 years old. I'm too old to be out there running around in the sand, okay? At the end of the day, myself and I think 9 or 10 other guys who were 50 older than unit, we were just totally wiped out. I mean, totally wiped out. We couldn't even take a shower. We were so tired. Couldn't even take our boots off. You know, it'd be like 2 or 3 hours. We were just sitting there. Like, yeah, I'm going to take a shower. Yeah, I'm going to take a shower. Next thing you know, it's 9 o'clock. Hey, we got to take a shower now. But being in the Navy, going to Vietnam aboard ship, that was a totally different experience too. From you know, from being 19 years old, you would see stuff you'd never see. You know, like, you know, television is not for real. That's just plain not for real. Maybe some Hollywood movies, it's not for real. Okay.
It's just scripted for what they want you to see.
Yeah. That's, you know, and what I'm trying to say here, right? History tends to pick out and choose what's what, okay? They never tell the real story. I think some of the Netflix or some of the shows, they're trying to get real stories in now, okay? Just, you know, it's easy to, if you see a squirrel, a cat, or a dog, or something run over, okay? That'll last with you maybe 5 minutes. Oh, hey, I almost messed up my $50,000 car because, you know, there's a dead squirrel in the street. Yeah. You know what? But to see somebody, you know, missing their legs or arms or half their body, that doesn't go away. That never goes away.
You never forget that.
You never forget that. And that's why, one of the reasons why so many guys have PTSD, okay, for that simple reason. They went somewhere, you know, 18, 19 years old, and the stuff they saw was on TV. Now it's for real. You know, your mind goes into shock, It doesn't come out of that. It's like, well, yeah, you know, I did my 2 years, I'll go back home now. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. You're afraid of everything. You know, it's like, oh yeah, you look at me, you're a big old guy, you weigh 300 pounds, 6'3". You let somebody sneak up behind me, okay? And I'm scared to death. You know, I don't like fireworks. To this day, I do not like fireworks. I don't like loud noises, okay? If a tire blew out on the freeway or something, you know, I'm ducking for cover. What was that? Who was that? You know, somebody shooting at me. But, you know, that's just one case of PTSD. But a lot of guys, you know, they get treatment. I know my last session I saw with the rep at the VA hospital, I says, I don't need you anymore. She was like, what do you mean? I don't need you anymore. She said, well, are you taking your medication? I don't need that either. You know, and the doctor, she's going like, oh, this guy's getting ready to go off or something, right? And I told her, I said, ma'am, I don't need you anymore. And she said, and I told her, I said, I'm going back home. I'm going back home. I went back to my grandmother's house when I was 17 years old. We didn't have any money. There was always some food. There was a lot of love. Before life got in the way, before military, wife and kids, house payments, car payments, all of that stuff, I took myself back there. And she said, she asked me, she says, can I use that? Can you use what? You know, you said you don't need me anymore. No, I did. I took myself back there. And you know what, Paul? I'm good though. I'm good. You know, like I said, you know, I was one of those guys. I used to smoke 4 packs of cigarettes a day, and I was drunk for 20 years, and didn't realize it. Okay, it was normal. That's not normal. Okay.
Yeah.
But you know, like I said, I'll have a beverage every once in a while. But you know what? The limit's 2. I don't care what it is. Even a Pepsi, the limit is 2. Okay.
Yeah.
I will not go any further than that.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I like about the you know, the Unsung Heroes, the project that you have, like I was telling the viewers there, is you know, you get the perspective of being in the you know, like the war, and it's from the perspective of the black veteran, where most of you know people, they don't cover that. And like I had mentioned one time before when I had you on the show a few months back, one good thing about the perspective that you do is you try to make it as real as can be, and you get the actual stories without adding anything or taking anything away, and you get their actual stories, that how they saw the war in their eyes, as far as like a black soldier, and how they were being treated and discriminated against. And I had told you that the closest thing I seen to come to that was Clint Eastwood had made a movie where he did it about, you know, World War II. He had the Japanese soldiers, and he tried to show through the Japanese soldiers' eyes, which was something I never had seen before. And it was really good. And it kind of reminded me of the perspective that you have, where, you know, you're trying to show it like it almost is like you were there with the Tuskegee Airmen, you know, you were showing like, what did they go through? And hey, they flew just like the white guys, and the, you know, the Mexican guys and stuff like that. And, you know, it tells their story, and how, you know, they really had served this country and gave their all, but yet they weren't really given, you know, a lot of admiration, and they were treated like a second-class citizen. And you go back in there and you show how, you know, it could have been, and this is the way it should have been, and things should have been done right. That's what's good about it.
Yeah, you know, our government, they're trying to make stuff right now, okay? But we're heading in the direction where we were 150 years ago, okay? It's going to be all right, or it's going to be all wrong.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I said, you know, and I'm not a politician or political statement, anything like that, but the direction we're heading, we're going backwards instead of forward, okay? I can tell you, one gentleman, he brought me his dad's picture of the World War II vet, right? He said, you know, when he came home to Europe, and when the boat, you know, stopped in New York, he said, all the white guys got off the front of the ship, 20-piece band was playing. Black guys had to get off in the back of the ship, with one black saxophone player, man. And I heard that, I'm like, I said, yeah, that's you know, that's just totally wrong, okay?
Yeah.
You know, you guys get off the ship at the same time. You know, and you hear a story like that, I become that little kid again, okay? You know, like your grandparents tell you stories, right?
Yeah.
Well, let me just sit down on the chair right here and listen to this. And a lot of the stories that I have, I actually listen instead of writing them down, okay? And I'm supposed to be recording this stuff, and I'm like, wow. You know, I tell you, you know, the one of the stories that I can tell you about is Mr. Cruz. I used to go to Maxi Park Center every Tuesday and Thursday, right? And Mr. Cruz would be over there. And my sister, Yolanda Randall, she runs the center over there. She said, hey, can you go talk to him? I said, not a problem. You know, it doesn't bother me to talk to people. This guy's sitting in the corner drinking coffee. And I said, excuse me, sir. Man, immediately cursed me out. Like, okay, and, you know, he's probably got a mental problem or something, okay? I come back Thursday. You know, he's still sitting in the corner drinking coffee. I said, excuse me, sir. You cursed me out again. Oh, there wasn't going to be no third time, okay? There was not going to be a third time. So I came in there when I had my Vietnam veteran cap on. And the guy saw me, he tried to stand up and salute me. Oh, what are you doing that for? He said, I was in the Marines. Oh, really? And I said, well, you know, can I, talk to you, get your story from you? He said, yeah, he started talking, right? He did reconnaissance. I said, wait a minute. I said, wait. I need to get your permission first in writing. And I'm dumbfounded. I look at this guy's handwriting. The guy has perfect handwriting, okay? Normally when you see a doctor sign something, you would ask him like, who slammed that chicken's foot down there, okay? This guy had perfect handwriting. I could not believe it. Anyway, he signed so I can do a interview and stuff like that. And we started talking. He said, we did reconnaissance, you know. He said he had his squad from the Marines. He said he walked over 200 miles in Vietnam. You know, they were sending coordinates for airstrikes and stuff like that. And he said they sent in a coordinates one time, and they brought in napalm. You know, it's like in the Vietnamese, you know, people never see anybody burning and screaming like that. He said he refused to do it anymore to go on reconnaissance. Then he started crying. Mr. Cruz, we can talk another day, you know, we stop, you know, we can stop, you know. Now, I'm getting this story, okay? Just, you know, oh my gosh. You know, but, you know, you're supposed to be tougher mean and blah, 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 bad guy. But, you know, I guess to see somebody running through the field that's on fire, that's not.
Something that it doesn't never get out of your mind.
It did not register. But anyway, I come back a couple weeks later, and I see Mr. Cruz there, right? This is, you know, he's supposed to be in there walking around the gym with the seniors, right? And I see him, and I came in there on off day. He's got his walker. He's halfway around the gym. Okay, I don't know if you see him. I'll just come back another day. And I came back, I think on Thursday. I come back, he's sitting in the corner. He's got 2 cups of coffee, waiting on me. I'm like, okay. He said, you know what? I'm going to tell you the rest of the story. He said, I love being a Marine, okay, but he got out. After 12 years. Now, to put an ending to that story, I said, Mr. Cruz, I said, you're a good man. And he just had a little crooked smile on his face, and that was the last time I saw him. Mr. Cruz was a homeless guy. The last time I saw him, he was pushing a basket through an alley on B Street. You know, and I asked him, I said, are you getting your benefits? Are you getting your disability? Yeah, my family gets it. They live up in Vallejo. I know the man was probably 100% disabled because he's on the street, okay? Yeah. I saw a couple of people that had him, you know, in like a home. And one guy saw his picture and says, oh yeah, I had Cruz. What do you mean you had him? He couldn't adjust to being inside a building, you know. He would like urinate, defecate in the dressing drawers and stuff like that. And they had to put him out, you know. He gave him plenty of warning, but told him, yeah, you can't do that. So, you know, there is a lot of I would just say sick people out there. Yeah. And then there's a lot of people out there just playing the game. Yeah. You know, they just done checked out. I don't want to do nothing, okay? I just want to get my check at the end of the month and do what I want to do. But there, like I said, there's a lot of sick people out there, and they do need help. And you know, it's like what I do with them, you know, Unsung Heroes. I try and make sure that the veterans that came out of my neighborhood, hey, we're going to get some help, okay? This is what you got to do, you know, to apply for your benefits. I even took one guy down there on Sean 6. I said, I don't want to hear it. I'm going to take you down there, you know. And, you know, he went down and applied for benefits. I don't know, I think he get like 50% disability now. But it's just the idea, you got to do the homework.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nobody wants to do the homework. Just give it to me. Don't work like that. You got to do the homework, okay? But,
a lot of times they make it hard. You have to jump through the hoops.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, case in point was me, one of those guys, you know. I got electrocuted in the shower in Iraq. There was no category for that. I didn't get shot or blown up. You know, 5 years I'm going through this. And my wife says, why are you doing that? And I go, hey, it's not the money, it's the principle behind this, okay? We're okay. It's the principle behind this.
Yeah.
And, you know, after 5 years, they found me, oh, yeah, enough guys died over in Iraq from that. Oh, we better do something about this. You know, it's too late, but, you know, they finally did something about it.
Hold that point right there. Okay, in case you just tuned in, this is Country Cousins, and I'm your host, Paul Hall. And this is my good friend, he's co-hosting for me today. This is Ron Vance. And he's talking about unsung heroes, and when we come back, we're going to go to commercial break. He's going to talk about some other projects that he has going on, so that'll be interesting. So stick around, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Country Cousins Show. I'm your host, Paul Hall, and this is my co-host, Ron Vance. And I'd just like to say, in case you're tuning in, Ron is a curator of Unsung Heroes, and he happens to be a good friend of mine, and I really appreciate you coming in and taking time out of your busy schedule. Before we went to break, he was telling some stories about the Unsung Heroes, and I told him when we come back, we wanted to talk about some of his other projects, but he has a couple articles that he'd like to read that he wrote about Unsung Heroes, so I'm going to let him get into that before we actually start talking about some of his other projects. So, Ron, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Okay, I have two passages right here that I wrote. Okay, we see young soldiers and do not see ourselves as being that young in the military. The young people in uniform have won our hearts. Their thankless job is not recognized enough as they are giving up those useful years. Those years will never be recaptured. They will only become memories of what if I had done something different. Some say I would do it again, some say not me. Living in space with 80 other people no bigger than a two-car garage, or being in a foxhole with the fear of never returning home. Being in those situations, you must get along. One would not know unless you went through the process of the brother and sisterhood of being in the military. For some, this is the only home and family they have ever had. We have all passed that photo on the wall at Grandma's house of a person in a military uniform. May it be Grandpa Joe, Aunt Jenny, or old Uncle Jay. We seem to never ask that question. Who were they and what they did in the military? The unsung heroes of yesterday are dwindling away. If their stories are never captured, true American history in their family will not be told. We will continue to be taught about George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. This is okay. Their legacy is imprinted in history books. Unsung Hero Living History Project salutes all veterans that have a connection to West Fresno, and your story needs to be told. Unsung Hero Living History Project, liaison Ronnie Vance Sr., U.S. Navy, U.S. Army, retired.
That's good. Very well said.
Thank you.
Yeah. I want to add a little bit to that. That's pretty good that you wrote that, but you know, you're right, because a lot of times you're at a relative's house, or I can remember going to my grandpa's and they had pictures of people up from like World War II and even the Korean War, and I never stopped and asked until finally you just keep going down the hall and you see them. Who was that? And they say, oh, that was your Uncle Joe, or you know, that was your Uncle Kevin, and you know, they never came back.
Yeah.
And then you find out that they, you know, enlisted when they were like 17, 18 years old. And the ones that I did have come back that were my cousins that were in Vietnam, they never were the same. It just, like you said, they get that PTSD and it's just not the same person.
It's not the same person. It's just, that person left.
Yeah.
Never came back. Never came back. You know, you're talking to your cousin or your brother or whatever, and they're looking at you, but their mind somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's totally different. You know, and it's war. There's no winner in war. There is no winner. I don't care what anybody says. It's like, yeah, you know, the war that's going on with Russia and Ukraine right now, right? If Putin wins, it's going to take 20 years to rebuild that country. Guess where Putin will be? Dead.
Yeah.
If Ukraine wins, guess what all them little kids are going to be? They're going to be 25, 30 years old, 20 years from now, scared to death with a rock falling out of them, you know?
Yeah.
So there's no winners. You know, the only person that wins is the guy who builds the bombs and the Band-Aids, okay, and sends the tanks over there. They make all the money.
Yeah.
There's no winner in war except those people who are building the bombs and the Band-Aids and stuff like that, okay?
Yeah. Like they say, you got to follow the money trail.
Follow the money trail, okay? And you see.
Who's got contracts with the U.S. Defense Department?
Exactly. You know, war is not and I can say this, war is not necessary. It is not necessary. You know, if like, well, like in Vietnam, they would take this hill today and then it's gone tomorrow. Take this hill today, it's gone tomorrow. Well, guess what? You're just using up bullets, okay? Bullets and bodies, okay? And it doesn't make any sense. I was over there in Vietnam when President Nixon sent the B-52s in, right? That was, you know, the captain came on the squawk box and he said, "There's been a presidential order." We thought, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, the man's going to nuke the place, okay? That was what I'm thinking, okay? We didn't send all these bombs over there and these people are still fighting. He sent the B-52s over there, and the captain said, we're going to, you know, turn out and go out about 6 miles. And in a few minutes, he said, the water will be shimmying just like that. What the heck is he talking about? We went out about 6 miles and we were just doing like 2 or 3 knots in the water, and the water was just shimmying like that. And we knew what was going on over there, like, oh my gosh. And I think 3 days later, or 2 or 3 days later, we quit fighting. 20 years of nonsense, okay? And it took them B-52s, dropped them bombs, and whatever it was. Out in just a couple of days, okay? Oh, we don't want no more of this. Like I said, war is not, it's not necessary. It's not necessary, you know? People just lose everything.
Yeah.
You know, and it's terrible. It's just terrible. That's all I can say. It's just terrible, okay? It's like, okay, I had to go as a 19-year-old. Heck, I want to stay here and play baseball. That's done. Okay, and you don't get that second chance. You do not get that second chance, okay? I'm trying to think of his name. Get Tillman that got killed over in Iraq, okay?
Yeah. Pat Tillman.
Yeah, he refused his contract to play football. What happened to Pat Tillman?
Wound up getting killed.
Exactly.
And the sad thing about it was they said it was friendly fire.
Yeah, it was friendly fire.
He was killed by his own guys.
See? It's like, you know, why? You know, for what? Because they didn't know. And again, his family done lost him, lost his contract, and, you know, probably got a big contract in the NFL. It's all gone.
Yeah.
There's no winners in war. There is no winners. I don't care what anybody says. There is no winners, okay?
Yeah. I'll never forget when I was younger and we were in L.A., my mom would tell me about my cousin that went into Vietnam, and when he come back, he didn't trust anybody.
Nope.
And he saw one of his friends get killed, and when my aunt and uncle at the time they were living in Torrance, California, and they would fix him real nice dinners, and he wouldn't eat, and he'd throw the food in the garbage, so he'd wait till they'd go to bed, and he'd come out at about 1 or 2 in the morning. He'd sit at the table and eat by himself. So one time they asked him, they said, "Why are you throwing the food away? I mean, that were your mom and dad." And he says, "I don't trust you." He says, "For all I know, you could be involved with the Viet Cong, and you're trying to poison me."
Yeah.
And so at that point, my aunt would tell my mom, "I just pray to God that sometime he's driving here in L.A., he would get in a car accident, and they'd take him to the hospital, and he'd get the help that he needs, because he's not going to be the same, and he won't go if we ask him." So that's something I'll never forget, you know, from him like that. And he never was the same after that.
Never was the same.
Never was the same.
Never was the same, yeah. You know, it's like, hey, yeah, that's Joe, but that's only in the body right there. Where's Joe at, you know?
Yeah.
You know, it's like he's you know, when he stepped over there on that foreign land, that's where Joe was, okay? He got left over there.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, I was talking to you a couple of weeks ago, and you were telling me that besides the Unsung Heroes, you had some other projects that you're going and you're excited about. You said something about you were trying to do there in Fresno, you're trying to do some what's called West Side Stories. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah.
Sounded pretty good.
Yeah, West Side Stories is it's something that I really like this, okay? When I was growing up in West Fresno, okay, back in the 50s and 60s, and I left in 1970, there was over 200 black-owned businesses in West Fresno, right? You can go to West Fresno and count maybe 5 on one hand today.
Yeah.
Maybe, okay? It's the way the system is, it's like your guys is being too successful, you can't have that. But you know, built a college over there in West Fresno now, and could there be some wealth going over there now? Okay, because I know where the college is being built over there, the satellite college, they're not going to have them broken down houses and fields and all that other stuff around there. That's going to
They put the school in too that we were at a couple of years ago when they had the Christmas drive. What was it, Gaston School?
Gaston School over there. You know, like I say, that neighborhood is, you know, it's not the best in the world, but I'll tell you, they're not going to spend $50 million and have raggedy houses 2 blocks
Yeah.
away. That's not
They're going to do improvements all over.
Yeah, all over.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, yeah, the stories I did one particular story. Two students out of Sunnyside High School and the teacher. I told them, I says, I want to take you down to Snake Road. And they go like, what? What's Snake Road?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. A lot of people don't know that.
They don't know Snake Road, and the two students, they go like, well, yeah, we're going to go see some snakes, right? And I met them over there at the two-way fruit stand. And the teacher, he went to Edison. And he says, where's the Snake Road at? He says, right across the street there. They're looking for snakes and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I had to tell him, I says, if you grew up in West Fresno, or you went to Edison High School, or Franklin, or any of the schools around here, you know about Snake Road. And he says, so what is Snake Road? You would swim in that ditch, you used to drink the water, you used to catch tadpoles. And as I'm looking at that, just a few months ago, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was sick. There's tires, trash, and just bottles, and I think back on my childhood, and it's like, yeah, we used to swim in here, okay? And it was clean, Everybody couldn't afford to go to a swimming pool, to pay a quarter to get in. Little canal right there, about maybe 2 or 3 blocks long. Everybody was swimming in that canal, and they would drink the water. Of course, we all got in trouble for it, though.
Yeah.
But you know what? Summertime in Fresno, you make a way to cool off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Snake Road, it's like, and that old canal is still there. Here it is. Over 60 years later. Since I was a kid over there playing in that canal. Then we went right up the street. A big sign that says Hyde Park. And I told the students, I said, I'm going to tell you.
I haven't been there in years. I used to go there when I was in high school.
Yeah, I'm going to and I told the students, I'm going to tell you what's here. What? This is the dump ground. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's pretty and green out here. I say, no, this is a dump ground. And I said, and I'm going to take you guys down to the end of this park right here, and it's a homeless encampment. And I don't want you to stay, okay? You can look at it, but, and the two young ladies got sick. They couldn't believe it. Like, what? It's nice and pretty and green down there. That's because it's close to Fruit Avenue. Okay,
Yeah.
a lot of traffic go by there,
Yep.
and the city's going to take care of that. But at the other end of that dump, and I told them, I says, me and my two cousins, we used to play in this place when we were kids, right? There was always smoke coming out of there.
Yeah.
And we were always digging through the old tires and the dirt and stuff. And my grandmother would tell us, "You boys, get out of there." We'd come home filthy. Mama, we're looking for that smoke. We're going to find it. We never did find that smoke, okay? It was just one of those things you did as a kid, okay?
Yeah.
We never found that smoke. And to this day, when I drive by there and look, and I think, I know that smoke's out there somewhere. And I know there's a fire somewhere, okay?
Yeah. Smoldering.
Just smoldering, it's got to be, okay? And, they got trees and grass and, and it covered it up. But, like I wrote in one of my stories, the old growth, okay, that's people who still around like me. They know what's underneath there. I know what's underneath there.
Yeah.
The kids don't, the young people don't. They see
You get somebody 35 and under,
Yeah.
and you start mentioning like different, like, you grew up on the west side.
Yeah.
Well, I had friends on the west side that I used to go, and I used to go over there. We'd walk down. Back in those days, it wasn't Martin Luther King.
Just Fig.
It was Fig.
Yeah.
So they would know right away. We'd walk up the Fig to where J&C House of Records
Yeah.
were. There was a park there. We'd play basketball.
Yeah.
And if you start mentioning different things, like say Snake Road,
Yeah.
you tell somebody
Yeah.
a two-way fruit stand.
Yeah.
Or even we'd crack up. We'd tell people, "Hey, I thought I saw you at Wayne's Liquor." And then they'd all start laughing.
Yeah.
So everybody knows when
Yeah.
you say a certain
Yeah.
place
Yeah.
like Mellows Drive-In.
Yeah, Mellows
everybody
Drive-In,
knows
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But if you get somebody 35 and under,
They don't know
go,
what you're
"What's
talking about."
that?"
Yeah, they don't know what you're talking about. Like, there's no such thing around here. Like, yeah, that's where it always, it was always like that. But I can tell you, when my dad got off work, he would take me to Mellows Ice Cream, right? Paul, he would say, "You want 2 scoops or 1 scoop, son?" I said, "Dad, can I get 2 scoops?" All right, 2 scoops was it.
Yeah.
That was enough for 3 people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And my dad would laugh at me as I'm spilling that ice cream all over the place. He said, "I thought you wanted 2 scoops." And I would say, "No, I think I better get 1 scoop next time." 1 scoop was too much, okay, of frosty ice cream.
Yep.
But that was a long time ago, and things were like really, really simple back then. Okay,
Yeah.
That was, I don't know. I can't say like the politics and crap that goes on, today. It's just
They
not
ruin
right.
everything.
Yeah, it's ruined everything. It's like I said, over 200 black-owned businesses were in West Fresno. If you went over there now, like I said, you probably count maybe all 5 of them on one hand, maybe. Maybe if you start searching really hard, okay? I'm like, what? What happened to? You know, there was nightclubs all over there, right? All gone.
Yeah.
It's all gone. It's like, no, you can't have this. You know, you're. How would you say? You're making money over here, and you're taking money away from somewhere else, part of town. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, wow. So, you know, no, you can't have this barbecue place here. That's not legal. You're taking money away from this over here.
Yeah.
So if you want this, you got to come over here now to get it.
Or if they did try to get it, they would have to jump through a bunch of hoops to get the license.
Yeah.
And people on the north side of town, they wouldn't have to go through all that.
Nope.
It was just those on the west side.
Yep.
They'd make it hard for them. The city would.
Yep. It's like, well, you know, a lot of that, what do you call it, eminent domain?
Yeah.
You know, like I said, it's going to happen. You know, I hate to say that, but it's going to happen. Like I said, you know, whatever it costs to build that satellite college over there, $50 million or whatever it is, okay,
Yeah.
you're not going to have
They were talking about, they said from where Elm and Jensen is, they were supposed to widen Jensen going all the way through.
that's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, you know, because people are going to have to come off the freeway, you know, of Jensen, you know, to get to the college over there. Even, let's say, Martin Luther King right there.
Yeah.
That street, that's got to get widened out too. Because, you know, traffic's already bad enough over there. You know, when school's out or going to school in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, and it gets foggy here, okay, the streets are just not wide enough.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, something's got to give. And I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen, you know, but
Yeah.
that's the end.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go for another commercial break. We'll be back in a few minutes, and we'll conclude here with my co-host, my good friend Ron Vance. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the actual host of the show, the guy who started this, and I filled in for him, Richard Graham. I'd like to tell you what happened and the progress, how he's doing now. So we'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Country Cousin Show. I'm your host, Paul Ehaw. This is my good friend, Ron Vance. And Ron, I appreciate you coming in today. And like I said before we went to break, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I've had hundreds and hundreds of emails and letters come in about the guy that started the show, the co-host Richard Graham. And he was the guy that actually got me to co-host, and I'm just filling in for him. And basically what happened was he had a stroke, and they didn't think he was going to make it. He was critical there for a while in the hospital. And the guys in the white coats, they says, it doesn't look too good. And so I always tell people, when the guy in the white coat says, go home, give up, there's no, there's no way that this guy's going to make it, that this lady's going to make it. That's when you get on your hands and knees, you pray to the Lord, because he's got the final say. Like the Bible says, every hair in your head is numbered. So I don't care what the doctor tells you, it's what the Lord tells you. So it's obviously it wasn't Richard's time to go. So they got him out of the hospital. He's in a rest home. He's in like a substitute care. He's doing really good. And they said it's going to be over a year, maybe a year and a half before he can talk. And thanks to all your prayers and everybody, do good wishers out there for him. He's coming along. He's starting to move his legs, his arms, which is good. And he's starting to talk in some sentences now. So he's getting his voice back. So keep praying for him. You know, you never can pray too much for somebody. And I go and I try to see him every day. And Ron, I know you went in there to see him.
Yeah, you know, the last time I went in there, it's been about a week or so ago, and he wrote down on his chalkboard, he left out half the words, RBS. Well, you some ribs? That ain't gonna happen, okay? And you know, and he that was happy tears that came out.
Yeah.
You know, and he scratched that off and CK. You ain't getting no chicken either, okay? That ain't happening. And you know, he just put his hands down like, you know what? Nope. But you know what? And the nurse was in there, and she said, "That's good."
Yeah.
You know, making him laugh. You know, it gives him strength. You know, he knows that, hey, people love him. You know, and it's like, no, we ain't gonna let you. We ain't gonna let you go out like
Every
that.
time I'd go in, he'd grab his board and he'd start writing. He'd put on there ribs, barbecue chicken, macaroni, and then he put on there a mashed potatoes and gravy, and then he put on there, don't forget the peach cobbler. I said, look, I'm not going to get a special order at Bobby's Barbecue, so just forget it. You can't eat that anyway.
Yep, you can't eat none of that.
And if you've ever watched the show before, or you know Richard personally, you'll know that it just about killed him for the fact that he couldn't talk. I mean, people love chocolate.
Yeah.
People love to shop. People like to eat. People like to drive their car fast. Well, Richard, he loves to talk.
Yeah.
So you can imagine a guy that loves to talk, and 24/7 this guy's talking. I mean, night and day. He never stops. So finally you have to tell him, hey, hold on to your cell phone, take a deep breath, or hold on to your remote if you're in front of the TV, and relax. Take a deep breath and calm down. Yeah. Then he'd start like, yeah. He'd start laughing. I tell him, look, just take it easy. But you can imagine how this guy's just dying to start talking again. So that's why I said, who cares what the guy in the white coat says, as long as, you're praying for him, and Richard's got a strong will, and he wants to live. And you can tell that he wants to get back and come back to the show and start moving around, because even his therapist says that, his speech pathologist says that she can't believe that he's already starting to utter words. And I said, well, it's not anything impossible to me, because I already knew that he was going to try talking. So keep praying for him. Like I said, thanks for all your cards and your emails, and they'll be sent along to Richard. And hopefully with the next couple months, you'll see him back here and he'll be talking again. Yeah. So this is myself saying this. Richard, you'll probably get to see this show. We miss you. We love you. Ron and I are here, supporting you, and so all your other friends. And we just keep praying for you, and we want you to hurry up and get well. So
get well, Richard. And you still ain't going to get no ribs.
Or chicken or cobbler. So, okay, folks, we'll see you next week. I'm Paul E. Hall, and this is my co-host,
Ron Vance.
And we'll talk to you soon.